trillion-ton iceberg, which we're just hearing has broken off Antarctica.
Sudden burst of solar activity, which melted down those ice sheets, but that's not what I go with.
"38 people disappeared overnight while headed from Chile to Antarctica."
Did you know that the Antarctic Treaty, effective from June 23, 1961, prohibits military activity in Antarctica? Yet the number of military bases over its dark ice shelves is increasing every day. A few moments ago, a simple drone flight by scientists uncovered something huge. It wasn't just ice breaking away. It was a secret so big, the US had to hide it. What could they be possibly doing in the icy continent of Antarctica? Join us while we shed some light onto this dark secret the US doesn't want you to know. Chapter 1. The Glowing Cave Mystery. In the first month of 2015, a journalist named Linda Moulton Howe found herself deep into a peculiar story from Antarctica. This discovery came about when she got an email from a man named Brian. Brian was not just anyone. He was a retired flight engineer who had worked for the US Navy. His story wasn't from recent times, but from his experiences in the cold, icy lands of Antarctica during the 1980s and 1990s. Brian had a tale to tell that was far from ordinary. Over his career, he had flown over the icy continent of Antarctica for more than 4,000 hours.
Naval flight engineer. He's asked me to call him only Brian.
It was during these long hours in the air that he encountered something that he couldn't explain, something that seemed like it came out of a science fiction story. He told Linda about the most extraordinary thing he had seen. Imagine flying over a vast expanse of ice and suddenly spotting a perfectly round hole cut into the ice sheet. This was not just any hole. It was huge and led down to what appeared to be a cave that emitted a mysterious glow from within. This part of his story already sounds like something out of a fantasy book, but what happened next was even more bizarre. Brian tried to take his aircraft closer to this glowing cave entrance to get a better look. However, as they approached, something extraordinary happened. All the electronic devices and instruments in the aircraft started to malfunction. Everything went so wrong that they had to perform an emergency procedure to restart all the gadgets. This kind of situation is every pilot's nightmare, especially in such a remote and unforgiving environment. But the strangeness didn't end with the malfunctioning equipment. After this unsettling encounter, some authorities who did not want this story to get out took action. They seized all records of the flight and the incident. Then, they refused to talk about it or acknowledge it in any way, essentially giving Brian and his crew the cold shoulder. This kind of reaction only added more mystery to the already incredible story that Brian shared with Linda. Linda couldn't believe the wild tale that Brian had shared with her, but she was too curious to let it go. So she decided to learn more about what Brian had experienced.
Archaeological in Antarctica.
Brian was ready to share more details, and what he told her next was even more astonishing than the first part of his story. Back in the year 1987, Brian was part of a crew assigned to a routine mission. They were flying out of McMurdo Station, a key research outpost in Antarctica, to deliver supplies. However, just as they were about to depart, they received unexpected instructions. Their new mission was to go to a far-off campsite within the vast expanse of Antarctica. This campsite was isolated and not easy to reach. Upon reaching their destination, the scene that greeted them was straight out of a horror movie. The campsite was in complete disarray, with equipment and personal belongings scattered everywhere. It looked as though the people who had been there had left in a hurry or had been taken. There was an eerie silence, and not a single person could be found. This event began a series of mysterious disappearances at various Antarctic research stations. Adding to the mystery, did the stations intercept strange signals? These weren't ordinary signals. They were odd radio bursts that seemed to be in languages no one could recognize, as if they were coming from an unknown entity buried beneath the ice. This caused a lot of anxiety among the crew members, making everyone on edge. As we peel back the layers of mystery, witness how the pursuit of knowledge becomes a high-stakes game of shadows. Chapter 2: Black Suits, Silencing the Truth. The story takes a mysterious turn when men dressed in black suits, alongside high-ranking Navy officers, arrived at McMurdo Station in Antarctica. They had one clear mission: to confront Brian about the unusual aircraft he reported seeing. These men pressured Brian to take back his story, warning him of severe repercussions if he didn't comply. Brian, however, stood his ground and refused to withdraw his report, even in the face of these intimidating threats. Not long after this confrontation, while on a mission in a secluded part of Antarctica, Brian encountered something strange. He picked up a weak distress signal coming from beneath an ice shelf. Following the signal, he discovered an odd, glowing circular hole in the ice. As they flew closer to get a better look, everything on their plane unexpectedly shut down, leaving them in complete darkness and silence. This situation would terrify anyone, but fortunately, they were able to activate the backup power system and escape from the situation safely. Upon returning to McMurdo, Brian didn't stay silent about this new discovery. He sent out a secretive warning about the glowing hole in the ice. To his surprise, a series of classified military convoys were soon dispatched to the location he had reported. Later, Brian was brought before a group of officials from DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, dressed in suits. They sternly advised him to keep quiet about all the bizarre things he had witnessed in Antarctica. Brian began to see a pattern linking his experiences to numerous unsolved disappearances of scientists and the sudden abandonment of research stations throughout Antarctica. It seemed as though he had stumbled upon a series of mysteries worthy of a science fiction thriller, a real-life version of The X-Files set in the icy wilderness. Feeling a deep sense of duty to share what he knew, Brian was tormented by guilt for remaining silent, especially knowing that others who dared to speak up were threatened. In his search for someone to trust, Brian found Linda Howe, a determined investigator committed to uncovering hidden stories. Linda was ready to shine a light on the secrets Brian had uncovered, determined to reveal the truth about a possible cover-up in Antarctica. Over the years, Linda worked tirelessly, conducting in-depth investigations and collecting accounts from military personnel that corroborated Brian's story. Witnesses described seeing advanced aircraft near Antarctica, unusual radio signals that couldn't be explained, and unidentified objects moving underwater at incredible speeds. Additionally, Linda discovered evidence of temporary structures in Antarctica that were later destroyed, possibly to conceal secret operations. She also found records of several researchers who had specialized in Antarctic studies and died under mysterious circumstances after working on the continent. Together, Brian and Linda embarked on a quest to break through the silence surrounding these enigmatic events in Antarctica, hoping to expose a story much bigger and more complex than anyone could imagine. Linda's investigation peeled back layers on secret missions that had been happening in Antarctica for years, carried out by influential groups from the military and scientific communities. These missions were shrouded in mystery, sparking curiosity about what these powerful organizations were really up to in such a remote and supposedly protected area. Even though Antarctica is meant to be a place for peaceful scientific research, there's growing tension over who actually owns parts of it. Different countries are laying claim to the same pieces of icy land, worried about missing out on hidden resources, or even using the continent for nuclear activities. Linda's work to uncover the truth is running into obstacles from shadowy security forces that don't want her to find out more. But despite these challenges, more and more people are starting to listen to what she has to say. The future of our planet might hinge on being honest about what's happening in Antarctica, but those with the most to lose keep trying to hide the full story. It's incredibly important for us to back people like Linda who are fighting to uncover the truth. We need to approach what they find with open minds and a willingness to question everything. The secrets buried in Antarctica could change our understanding of the world, and it's crucial that we focus on discovering the truth instead of giving in to fear. We should be demanding facts and transparency, ready to face whatever comes out of these revelations, no matter how much it might challenge our current beliefs. Brian's experiences flying over the icy expanse of Antarctica read like a chapter from a science fiction novel, filled with unexplained phenomena and an atmosphere thick with mystery. His accounts include tales of researchers too frightened to talk and strange, unexplainable sightings that add an eerie layer to his adventures. But the most astonishing part of his story involves encounters with unidentified flying objects performing impossible maneuvers under the bright Antarctic sun. Brian and his crew witnessed a series of shiny silver discs emerging from behind an icy peak on a flight near the Queen Maud mountain range. These discs, measuring 30 to 40 yards in diameter, aligned themselves and moved towards Mount Fridtjof. They had a metallic sheen that didn't reflect sunlight, making them appear solid against the clear sky. Their movements were unlike anything made by human hands. Synchronized spinning, abrupt accelerations, and rotations without any visible means of propulsion. After about 15 minutes, these discs disappeared behind Mount Fridtjof, leaving the crew in disbelief at the technological marvels they had just witnessed. But there's more to Brian's story than just these flying objects. He also discovered an enormous, perfectly round hole in the ice, leading down to a cave that emitted a soft blue light. The precision of the hole's creation and the mysterious glow suggested technology far beyond human capabilities. As they approached this anomaly, every piece of electronic equipment on their aircraft malfunctioned, creating a zone of chaos that seemed to be triggered by proximity to the cave. This part of Brian's adventure suggests that there might be advanced intelligences operating from the shadows of Antarctica's frozen landscape, presenting puzzles that challenge our understanding of what's possible. Brian made an official report about his experiences, including the strange electromagnetic effects and how he saw 3 objects zooming out of the ice cave at incredible speeds. However, before the report could go anywhere, some unidentified people took it away, insisting on silence about the whole affair. This situation really shook Brian up. It made him think about legendary tales of hidden spaces beneath Antarctica, like those from Admiral Byrd's confidential naval mission in 1947. Driven by curiosity and determination, Brian even took it upon himself to fly over the mysterious site alone. Each time he did, bizarre electrical phenomena interfered with his airplane's instruments. On his final trip over the area, right before authorities declared it off-limits, Brian witnessed something unforgettable. A silver disc was just sitting there, inside the ice cave. Suddenly, it zoomed upwards, emitting an intense beam of light that knocked out all his equipment. When Brian and his plane regained functionality 20 minutes later, they were surprisingly 13 kilometers away from the cave, with no memory of how they got there. Despite his best efforts to explore the area again, relentless bad weather and strict flying restrictions prevented any further investigation. Over time, Brian quietly reached out to other pilots who had similar encounters with mysterious silver discs near Antarctic research stations. One of his colleagues, who was based close to Euler Peak, even shared evidence of strange underwater objects in the Weddell Sea. These objects, described as metallic pods, could move through the water without causing any disturbance. Additionally, another acquaintance managed to get thermal satellite images showing unusual heat patterns under Wilkes Land. These patterns suggested the presence of temporary living quarters or some kind of facilities hidden beneath the ice. When Brian compared his experiences with the information from others, it painted a compelling picture of secret operations taking place deep under the Antarctic ice. These operations could be connected to the advanced silver crafts Brian had seen making impossible maneuvers above the frozen landscape. Brian often finds himself lying awake at night, troubled by vivid memories of the extraordinary events he witnessed in Antarctica. The impact of what he discovered, whether it's terrifying or awe-inspiring, is something he carries with him always. However, Brian is not alone in bearing the weight of these secrets. There's a growing community of former military personnel who are also aware of the enigmas surrounding Antarctica, and they are all advocating for the truth to be revealed. As space organizations make plans to establish bases at the southern tip of our planet, humanity may soon have to confront the startling possibilities of what, or who, exists in the most remote and hidden parts of Antarctica. The experiences Brian shared could be crucial in shedding light on the deepest secrets of this icy continent. His accounts challenge our conventional understanding of Earth's history and prompt us to reconsider our role on a planet that might be home to far greater intelligences than we have imagined. Facing these revelations won't be easy, but wisdom suggests that it's better to seek understanding and knowledge than to remain in the shadows of uncertainty and denial. By approaching these mysteries with an open yet critical mindset, we can navigate the complexities of our reality. This approach not only helps us to grow and evolve as individuals, but also as a civilization, pushing us to expand our horizons and embrace the full spectrum of truths our world has to offer. History is filled with tales of the unexplained, but some stories refuse to stay buried. Chapter 3: The First Flight. Brian told some amazing stories about his trips to Antarctica that were very similar to stories from a long time ago by a famous American explorer named Admiral Richard Byrd. Admiral Byrd became very famous because he led the first airplane trips over the North and South Poles in 1926 and 1929, which was a big deal and made him a hero in America. But what really shocked people was something he said happened in 1947. He claimed that during a trip to Antarctica, he found a huge opening that led to a secret underground world. He said he flew over areas that didn't have any ice, where he saw mountains, forests, greenery, and even huge animals. But then he saw some flying objects shaped like discs that threatened him and made him go back. When Admiral Byrd got back to the United States, his amazing story was quickly hidden, and no one was allowed to talk about it because of some secret pressure from the people in charge. Brian's experience was like Admiral Byrd's, because right after he talked about seeing strange things in Antarctica, there was a quick effort to take away all the records of the trip and stop anyone who was there from talking about what they saw. Even though Admiral Byrd was well respected and famous, the people who wanted to keep the Antarctic secrets found it hard to make people not believe his unusual story. They couldn't just laugh it off or say it wasn't true, like they might with others, because Byrd was such a well-known and trusted figure. Admiral Byrd was even taken in for questioning by the US Navy, and they watched him closely to see if he was okay mentally. Then suddenly, a few weeks later, he said his story wasn't true. People who had been on the expedition and talked about Antarctica before now wouldn't say anything, and Byrd himself stayed out of the public eye for the rest of his life. The government made it very clear that it was risky for anyone's reputation and safety to talk about secrets that were supposed to be kept hidden. Trying to keep Admiral Byrd's story a secret only made people more curious and suspicious about what exactly the government was trying to keep hidden. The officials said that Byrd was just confused because of the extreme conditions at the poles, but a lot of people didn't believe this explanation. They couldn't accept that someone as experienced and respected as Byrd was simply hallucinating. People wondered if there was really a hidden world in Antarctica, like Byrd described, with green lands, flying crafts shaped like discs, and huge animals. The thought that this could be true was both exciting and shocking, because it would change a lot of what we know about science, history, and the world. People started guessing why the government and other powerful groups wanted to keep this a secret. Some thought it was about keeping control over Antarctica's resources, which were important for national security and competing with other powerful countries. Others believed the US Navy was worried about the Soviet Union finding and using this secret place for military purposes, especially because it could be a risk to America's safety in the Pacific area. Scientists were also scared of what it might mean if there were new discoveries in physics and medicine that had been hidden for a long time. And political leaders didn't want to cause panic or confusion by admitting that the maps we have of the Earth might be missing a big piece. The fact that so many governments worked so hard to keep Bird's story quiet suggests that there was something very important and unusual at stake, something that went beyond the usual reasons of national pride, science, or politics. Bird's account suggested that there might be secrets in Antarctica that could challenge everything we think we know about the world and where we come from. Documents that the FBI released later showed that the government kept an eye on everyone who was part of Bird's 1947 trip until they died. This wasn't just because of the usual reasons during the Cold War, but because of the unique things those people saw and experienced. This shows that the government took Bird's story very seriously, understanding that it wasn't just about who controls a piece of land or new technology, but about deep questions regarding humanity's place in the universe and our understanding of history. When Admiral Byrd shared his amazing stories about Antarctica while he was still there, he probably hoped to be the one to control the story before anyone else could silence him. This plan seemed to work at first. Newspapers in America were full of stories about how this famous explorer had found a hidden world at the South Pole, a place that was warm and full of advanced life forms. But soon, Byrd had to take back his words because he was told to keep quiet, and this let the government make him look bad. For a long time after that, people stopped talking about Antarctica until others like Brian, who had also been in the military, started sharing their own incredible stories. Brian talked about seeing mysterious silver objects and a brightly lit cave under the ice, which was very similar to what Byrd had described about a huge, empty space inside the Earth filled with strange vehicles. These stories, coming from different people over many years, started to make more people believe them, despite efforts by those in power to use the media and scare tactics to keep them quiet since the 1940s. Unlike during Byrd's time, when a few powerful people could control what was known and what wasn't, the internet has changed everything. Now, information can be shared freely, and it's much harder for secrets to be kept. Linda's research and the campaign she started on social media, called Antarctica Truth, have brought a lot of attention to the mysteries of Antarctica. This movement has shown that the secrets of Antarctica, which some people in power find too strange to admit, but are too consistent across different witnesses to ignore, can't be hidden anymore. Even though Antarctica is often shown on maps, the details of what's inside it have remained a mystery, hidden right in front of everyone's eyes. Scientists sometimes joke about how much they know about faraway places like Mars, but at the same time, they admit there's a lot they don't understand about the deep and mysterious areas of Antarctica. This place is where the Earth's solid outer layer meets a moving layer underneath, all hidden beneath thick ice. A recent study pointed out an interesting fact. It's hard to believe that explorers like Amundsen and Scott raced to the South Pole without knowing about the huge mountain ranges they were crossing, which were not considered in their plans. In easier words, because of changes caused by nuclear activities that may have altered Antarctica's weather, or due to the rise and fall of ancient civilizations, it's possible that advanced beings lived in Antarctica long before humans ever did. Linda's research often ran into a well-organized effort to keep secrets about Antarctica very well hidden. This effort was passed from military groups to those studying old cultures, and it linked people in charge from different parts of the world for many years. Yet, when scientists who had been pushed away and people who left their jobs in protest began to share what they knew, the world started to pay attention to what was being hidden about the most southern part of our planet. What came out of this could either bring people around the world closer together or cause deep divisions, depending on how everyone reacted to these startling discoveries that were very unsettling. Brian and Linda Howe played a very important part in unlocking the secrets of Antarctica, which are secrets that could change how society sees itself in many different areas, from science and education to how we understand the world. As the ice in Antarctica starts to melt, the secrets that have been kept hidden about our world's most remote area will start to come out. However, it's very important that we approach these new discoveries with bravery and careful thought, choosing to learn and grow from them rather than running away or pretending they don't exist. This moment is a big chance for all of us to grow wiser and more mature as a global community. We can use what we learn to become better instead of letting fear of the unknown make us unstable. Facing the truth about Antarctica head-on could either help us improve our world or lead to negative consequences, depending on how we handle it. It's like standing at a crossroads, and we need to think deeply about which direction we want to go in. The decisions we make now are very important and could have a big impact on our future. Antarctica's serene beauty masks a battleground for the future where the stakes are global survival and supremacy. Chapter 4: Antarctica and its unexplored treasure. Antarctica, the icy realm, is facing serious threats that could change not just its future, but also the health of our entire planet. This remote continent is vital for maintaining the delicate balance of our climate and weather systems. Its massive ice sheets act as the Earth's freezer, storing huge amounts of water and playing a key role in regulating global temperatures. However, the problem is that Antarctica is warming up due to climate change. This warming is causing the ice to melt faster than usual, leading to instability in some regions. Scientists are sounding the alarm, cautioning that if we don't address climate change, the consequences for Antarctica could be catastrophic, potentially affecting sea levels worldwide. With an astonishing loss of over 250 billion metric tons of ice annually, the urgency to protect Antarctica's unique ecosystem and its inhabitants, like penguins and whales, is growing. Efforts to safeguard this environment include establishing protected zones, implementing fishing regulations, and monitoring wildlife populations closely. Meanwhile, Antarctica is also the center of geopolitical tensions. Several countries, including major powers like Russia, China, and the United States, have shown interest in the continent's untapped resources, including valuable minerals and oil lying beneath the ice. Despite the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, which was meant to preserve the continent for peaceful and scientific purposes by prohibiting military activity and resource exploitation, there's increasing pressure as these nations vie for access to these resources. The challenge we face is balancing the preservation of Antarctica's pristine condition against the impacts of climate change, geopolitical ambitions, and the human desire for resource exploitation. There's a growing debate between those advocating for the protection of this untouched wilderness and others who see potential economic gain in its natural resources. This situation poses a critical question. Can we maintain Antarctica's untouched beauty and crucial environmental role while navigating the complexities of international politics and the pursuit of economic benefits? It's a complex dilemma, highlighting the struggle between conservation efforts and the drive for economic development, a struggle that could have lasting implications for the future of our planet. Hidden beneath the ice lies a world more mysterious than any fantasy. Chapter 5: Lake Vostok Subglacial Mysteries. Antarctica is so much more than just its beautiful ice-covered appearance. It's a place full of mysteries waiting to be discovered beneath its icy surface. Imagine Antarctica not just as a plain of ice, but as a secret, enchanted world. This world is not empty, but filled with hidden lakes, flowing rivers, and huge canyons, all lying under the ice. This continent holds the record for having the most ice anywhere on Earth. And when it comes to understanding the secrets hidden under this massive ice, we've barely scratched the surface. The ice sheet in Antarctica is not just a simple sheet of ice. It's a treasure chest, holding about 70% of the planet's fresh water. This fact alone makes Antarctica extremely important. But there's more to it than just ice. Underneath this cold, white blanket lies an exciting world we're just starting to explore. Thanks to modern technology, like high-tech satellites and radar systems that can look through the ice, we're beginning to uncover what's hidden beneath. These technologies have revealed an amazing network of water paths. These aren't just small streams. They are vast rivers and lakes stretching over great distances, all hidden beneath the ice. It's as though there's a secret frozen world under there, a kingdom of ice that's been waiting for us to find it. Scientists are on the edge of their seats, eager to learn more about this hidden world. They are especially intrigued by the idea that this icy, dark environment could be home to unique life forms. They're thinking about tiny microbes, incredibly small life forms that have somehow managed to survive in these extreme, freezing conditions. The excitement comes from the possibility that these microbes are unlike any life form we know because they've adapted to live in an environment that's completely different from anywhere else on Earth. The thought of discovering these microbes and understanding how they live in such extreme cold is fascinating. Antarctica, with its layers of ice hiding untold secrets, represents one of the last true frontiers on our planet. As we continue to explore and uncover its mysteries, we're reminded of the incredible complexity and beauty of our world. In the heart of Antarctica lies a hidden marvel, Lake Vostok, which is the biggest lake discovered beneath the continent's thick ice layer. This lake wasn't always known to us. In fact, Russian scientists only started to suspect it might be there around the 1960s, but nobody could prove it was real until the 1990s. Imagine a huge body of fresh water that's been trapped under roughly 13,000 feet of ice. This lake has been cut off from the rest of the world, lying in silent isolation for over 20 million years. The conditions inside Lake Vostok are incredibly severe, much like the settings you'd find in a science fiction story about distant, alien planets. The lake's environment is so extreme that it has sparked a lot of interest and excitement among scientists. They wonder if any forms of life have managed to survive there. If there are living organisms in Lake Vostok, surviving the cold, the pressure, and the darkness, they could teach us a lot. Specifically, scientists are thrilled at the possibility that life in Lake Vostok could give us clues about life on other planets that have harsh conditions similar to those in the lake. These planets, which might seem too hostile for life as we know it, could actually harbor life forms that have adapted to extreme environments. The discovery and study of Lake Vostok are important for several reasons. First, it shows how much we still have to learn about our own planet. The lake is a time capsule, a hidden world preserved beneath the ice for millions of years. Its isolation makes it a unique laboratory for studying the Earth's past and for imagining the possibilities of life beyond Earth. Second, the potential discovery of life in such extreme conditions challenges our understanding of where and how life can exist. It opens up new avenues of research in astrobiology, the study of life's potential in the universe. What are your thoughts on the chilling secrets uncovered in the icy depths of Antarctica? Smash that like button, subscribe for more mind-blowing discoveries, and share your theories in the comments below.